Hi, I'm Bob Iaculo. United Water believes that all citizens need to be informed about the important issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Why parents make the best teachers, next on Caucus New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, which supports early childhood education through Grow Up Great, a multi-year initiative to help prepare children from birth to age 5 for success in school and life. The New Jersey Education Association. Bloomfield College, offering small classes and big opportunities since 1868. United Water, making the planet sustainable is the best job on earth. Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, the heart of academic medicine. The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And by QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents.
Welcome to Caucus New Jersey. I'm Steve Adubato. You know, during the first years of life, a child's most important teachers are their parents. Here to discuss the ways that we as parents can have a positive impact on our children in their early years are Donna Pressma is President and CEO of Children's Home Society of New Jersey. Mark Martone, we had him before, we have him back again. A parent and the 2015 New Jersey Teacher of the Year. Veronica Ray, Executive Director and CEO of the Leaguers in Newark, New Jersey. Shannon Riley Ayers is a Associate Research Professor at the National Institute for Early Education Research. I want to thank you all for joining us to talk about we as parents. And by the way, do we make the best teachers?
I think we do.
Make the case.
We know what our kids want. We know how they develop. I think sometimes we have a path that we want our children to go in school, and sometimes we don't see that path taken off the way it should, especially the early years. Just to bring it up, I think us as educators and as a parent, you look at where's the best early care program or daycare program. What district offers half-day preschool, full-day preschool? What district offers free preschool? Then you go to the next step, where's that transition to full-day, half-day kindergarten? So if you have some of those half-days or you're without those steps at the early education piece, as a parent, I become that child's teacher and advocate to ensure that they have the best education.
It must be interesting for you, again, I know you don't brag about being the teacher of the year, you just are the teacher of the year, and I know you're proud of it. But it must be interesting for you being a parent, and you're a parent of a
4-year-old.
Yeah. Is it challenging for you to be this really great teacher, but also be a parent? By the way, which one's harder?
Being the parent, because there's things that I would like my son to get when I know other children get it. But in order for my son to get it, I'd have to move out of my district. Because, you know, if you're in a district that offers a lottery half-day preschool or doesn't offer preschool,
wow,
I can move to the district I teach where my child can go to, because I teach there, full-day preschool, full-day kindergarten.
Let's talk about this. Parents make the best teachers.
First and best teachers, because you have to go back. If you want to be the very best parent you can be, we all want to do that, who've raised children and grandchildren.
Sure.
It starts in pregnancy.
In pregnancy?
The brain of an infant is beginning to be wired, if you can conceive of it that way. All of the wiring necessary, certainly by 3rd trimester, but without the healthy pregnancy, and I mean the whole pregnancy, you can actually either increase the chances the child will be a good learner or decrease the child being a good learner.
What's going on? There are a couple of really terrific producers we have on our team. I won't name names. You know who you are. Well, it's not like it's a secret. They're pregnant. But they're talking to their babies.
Yeah, they should.
What do you mean they should? I thought they were nuts at first. I was like, what do they do? I shouldn't use that expression. I apologize. But they're walking around. They're talking to their babies, and they're saying, Steve's great. No, they're not saying that. They're saying, they're just talking to them, and then they're singing to them, and
and reading to them.
And by the way, Lauren, our makeup artist, just gave me the okay to say she talked to her baby. She has a baby now, wonderful baby girl. She talked to her baby before the baby was a baby. All good.
All good.
Help us understand
Okay.
this. Those of us who are like, wait a minute, like what? Who gets what? Like the
Okay. They're
fetus
creating,
gets that.
They're creating this soothing atmosphere for the child. Now, no one is saying that the child understands the song or what's being said, but it's the calmness of the mother. It's the environment that this baby is being nurtured in.
Really?
Yes. And then reading, we always encourage reading to the fetus, but not necessarily for the fetus's sake, but for the parent's sake. So they develop this habit of reading to their child before it's born so that they will continue reading to the child afterwards and through school age so that the child's vocabulary increases. It's got to do with cognitive development. It's everything. So we encourage all of this to start in pregnancy.
That's so interesting. Talk a little bit about this from your perspective, from a research perspective. What do we find?
We
about
know
parents as
that early
teachers?
language is related to later learning. And where do children initially learn language? It's from the parents or in the home, from the caregiver. I do think parents are the first and probably the best teacher, but I think they need to work in partnership with the teacher at the center where the child is, at the school where the child is, so that really there's that communication. What is the child doing at home versus how the child is doing in daycare or the school, and really thinking about achieving high academic and social emotional standards for the children as a partnership.
Let's play that out a little bit. I like the idea of the partnership. No one would disagree with that. But what I'm curious about is I always just have this idea in my mind. Maybe it's a sports mentality that says, who's the quarterback? Who's the quarterback of this effort? Who's the leader of the effort? Who is the quarterback of the effort to parent the child as it relates to a preschool situation regarding the teacher and the parent?
I don't think there is a quarterback.
I always say there has to be a quarterback.
There's a partnership. Especially in Head Start. There's a true partnership.
Talk about Head Start, because
Okay.
50th anniversary of Head Start, I believe.
Yes,
Go ahead.
this year. It's a true partnership where parents and teachers and administrative staff come together to develop the concept of the program so that not the teachers or just administration is choosing a curriculum. Parents have to be trained on various curriculums, and we help them make educated decisions on what would be the best curriculum to implement in the program.
What does that look like? Describe that.
Well, it starts with our parent committees, which all parents are a part of, and a policy council who actually has some power in our agencies so that they're engaged at every level. They're engaged at the development of personnel policies and budgets and procedures.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm sorry for interrupting. Take a step back.
Yeah.
The committees and the policy and all that makes sense to me.
Okay.
But I want to get it down to the level of individual parents. And what I'm curious about is, even though the research, I'm sure, backs this up, and I'm sure there are certain structures in place, and Head Start's been an incredible program from a policy success perspective. What I'm curious about is, to what degree are individual parents? What are the numbers? What do we know about how many individual parents are getting that involved in deciding to be the primary teacher of their child, as opposed to talking the talk but not doing what is necessary, and basically expecting someone else,
Do
you,
it for you.
because you're that teacher, you do it. I mean, I'll be involved a little bit, but come on, you expect me to do it? Isn't that what I pay you for? Oh, listen, I'm playing devil's advocate. Work with me here.
Advocate, but that's pretty familiar.
That is familiar to you?
It is. I think, I mean, in my particular program, and just me ethically, I think, and as a parent, I'm very connected with my parents. Now, that for a lot of parents, that may be their first child. You know, education is not the way it was 20 years ago when we were in preschool. But I think also a parent needs to understand the value of preschool right now.
Define it. The value of preschool.
The preschool is the foundation of the process of learning. If they understood the value, we would have more people advocating for full-day preschool across our state, full-day kindergarten across our state. We don't have that. As far as participation in parents within school, I think that varies between district administration, organizations, the level of funding. I think there's a lot of issues involved in how much you're willing to have a parent be a participant in the school.
Well, talk about that.
So, I mean, if you have a high quality preschool program, which there's a difference between having a preschool program and then high quality preschool program, okay? What are your components of that? What makes you high quality from a typical preschool? That's just educating children. Are you using, an approved curriculum backed up by research? Is it something that you've developed within your district? Are you offering parent trainings? Are you offering home visits? Parents need guidance as well. So in order for them to be effective in what their children are learning in school, they have to be knowledgeable of what is going on in school.
Right.
And sometimes you don't see that. They have to understand that the social emotional is just as important as academic, is just as important as, I hate to use the word sports, but we need to put that on a different level now, because we don't look at it. We take them separately. It's like, oh, my child's doing really well. He got, all satisfactories, but maybe he got an unsatisfactory in the social emotional. It's like that, but he's good in all the other areas. They all are equally as important, and I think we don't look at it that sometimes.
Can we pick that
Sure.
up from an emotional development point of view in the preschool years? And this is why it starts in pregnancy, when you're reading and rubbing your tummy and talking to your baby. You are bonding with your baby. You are the quarterback. You're the first and potentially best teacher for that child. However, you're still the teacher, even when you make mistakes. But it's the critical piece is the sense of security that baby is born into from the time of pregnancy, and it begins there all the way through those first few years of life. The children who have that bonding and that attachment to, usually it's the parent, occasionally a grandparent raising their child, or a caretaker. And it is a partnership. I don't want to minimize the partnership if the child is in Head Start or daycare, but it is the parent and that emotional attachment when you lean over your baby and you're talking and singing now that the baby is born. It's that constant sense of security and safety. That's when the child begins to feel safe and like there's a sense of well-being in the world.
So
and when it's not there,
I was just going to ask you, and when it's not there,
they can't learn.
And when it's not there, what happens?
They cannot. What
do you mean they can't learn?
Well, let me tell you what happens. They don't have this ability to calm themselves down. I'm going to put it in layman's terms. They can't. They go to kindergarten. They've been graduated in, but they can't calm themselves down. They can't stay focused. And without that, they can't even have the potential of being a good learner. Those who come in with that sense of security and safety, they have the best potential to become good learners when they enter. But it begins in preschool, you're absolutely right, and it begins in pregnancy.
Yes, and I agree with that. And it's that parent and that partnership with the staff. When they come in the door, and we complete what's called a parent agreement, where parents identify their goals as well as the goals for their children. And the parent has to succeed in order for the child to succeed. So it's a partnership.
Yeah, as we're talking about this, and I need you to comment on this, there are very close friends of mine that, I think to myself, they're really good, loving parents, but if they're the primary teacher, sometimes they get really afraid for their kids. And what I mean by that is this: they are not calm. And I'm not the calmest person, but I want to believe that I know how to deal with situations, and I don't, overreact. Well, I do, but not as to the degree that I'm talking about. What I'm trying to get at is this: there are a whole bunch of friends I have that, the whole thing you said about calming influence, I see a lot of friends and people around me who are constantly not only nitpicking their kids, but putting pressure on their kids and creating more tension for their very young children and more anxiety. And I'm asking myself, well, doesn't it still, this whole idea, if they're the best teachers, can't they also have the opposite effect if they're not doing those things?
Surely, and I think that's where the parent education comes into play.
What does that mean, parent education?
Where we think about the institutions like Head Start, like Programs for Parent, like public school systems where we're having parent nights and parent lectures and talks where we can discuss, well, what happens when you have this difficulty? I'm the mother of a pre-adolescent. It's tough. I'm not saying that. So, I seek out help. I look for help. And
It's
I
not
think
a sign
that,
of weakness, is it?
Absolutely not. But I think if we're not welcoming to families at schools, at places where they can have these resources, then we need to ask the question, why aren't they coming? What can we do better to reach out to them? I really think that it's the Institute's responsibility to welcome the parents.
Well, let's be clear on what we mean by that. Which institution? Which institutions are we talking about?
So any preschool, any public schooling, daycare centers, childcare centers, Head Start, wherever a child spends time. Pediatricians are a great partnership for educating parents on how to deal with difficult situations, where to go for resources.
Here's my question. If, in fact, parents are our best teachers, our children's best teachers, and the vast majority of cases they are, why are we not doing more teaching of parents to be better parents? Why are we, and particularly younger parents or parents with younger children, not being taught? Because it is such an incredibly hard job. Why are we assuming that, I don't care what all the training and coaching in the world, it's still a tough job.
That's right.
But so why are we not doing more to help parents be better parents?
But it depends on which institution you're looking at that's not helping.
Well, how about society overall?
Well, society overall hasn't accepted the fact that many parents need this help. Okay?
You don't think we've accepted that?
No, I don't think so.
I think that you hit on it, that
yeah.
it's a sign,
It's
it can be viewed as a sign of weakness.
Yes.
If you can't handle your kid,
Yes.
just handle your kid, right, Mark?
That's right.
And if you can't handle your kid, then you're weak. Not true.
You're not a good parent or
Talk
something
about
else.
this.
I think it's tough for a parent, my kids at home versus my students, it's different. My students, I can have a great classroom management system that they all adhere to. I go home, I try to put something like that in or something, it just doesn't work. But my kids,
I manage the studio situation a lot better than I do home too, but that's another story.
My children will go to school. There'll be angels in school. And it's whether it's a behavior contrast that happens that under certain conditions, they're going to listen to them. So when you talk about partnership with school districts, you need to be a parent that's really open to say, listen, I know they listen to you. I'm just having some trouble, even when they're doing their homework.
I mean, saying that to the teacher.
Yeah, you have to be vulnerable as a parent. And you have to say, listen,
Vulnerable.
you have to open yourself up. You know what? I'm just having a hard time with my kids' homework. I'm having a hard time when they get upset. Can you help me out? Have you seen this in school? What goes on at home should also be acknowledged at school, because that's how you build that partnership. You have a better understanding of that child as a whole child, not just as a school child, not just as a child that's being home. You're understanding that child as a whole. What goes on at home? What are they coming into school with? If a child didn't eat breakfast, if a child, didn't sleep last night, if you had that communication and those partnerships and those relationships, you would understand.
How do you get that with your parents?
Trust, and from day one, that's how I do.
Do you demand that from those parents?
I don't demand it. I educate them on the benefits of it, of a strong
And
partnership.
voluntarily, for the most part, you get it.
Yeah.
Here's the good news of it.
Yeah.
That if you can help this country nurture a beginning interest in early childhood education and parenting education, I think I'm seeing a growing movement. There's the 0 to 3, there's Head Start, there's
Right.
now looking at 4-year-olds
There's Grow Up
becoming
Great.
mandatory education for all
PNC folks.
4-year-olds. So I'm an optimist. I see it coming,
Sure.
and it just needs to be nurtured. And I think it's a willing both partnership with all of the daycare and childcare, and we're Head Start too, Head Start programs. But I think it's just the awareness of a parent. What is my role? How can I do this better? And the other good part of that,
Sure.
Steve, is if there's a bond of love and caring, even when you make mistakes, hopefully
all
you're
do.
fairly consistent, and we all make them, but it's made out of love. And kids are very forgiving. Yes, if you can learn those parenting skills, you get to be even stronger. But on the other hand, the key environment for that child is you love that child. You don't want anything to happen, even to hit a home run every time. We all want perfect children. It is impossible. But it's not. It's still a context of being the best teacher. And it still has for the child the potential that they will be a good learner.
But I think that even in being the best teacher, it starts day one when the parent walks in the door. The teacher
Door
has
of
got
the classroom?
Right,
Go
the
ahead.
door of the classroom. The teacher has got to make that parent feel welcome, a part of the environment, a part of what's going on in that classroom, and to help the parent take ownership for their child's education and for what's going on in that classroom. And that's how you get parents to participate, because they take ownership for the activities that are in the classroom for their children's learning. And I love technology, and we're doing this new thing where we communicate all day with parents through email.
Yes.
To let them see what their children are doing.
Yeah.
Those parents who can't be there, you know, here, take a look. Look in the classroom. Here's what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
How many? And even with the infants, how many times did we change the diaper? How many times? How many ounces did they drink today? Hey, mommy, I know you're at your desk, but here's a picture of your baby. You know, those
I'm going to
things
tell you
are
something
important.
about that. One of the greatest things that I saw, using technology can be such a distracting, disruptive force, and it could also be such a powerful, positive
Yes,
force.
it can.
And I'm going to give a shout out to the Montclair Pre-K, where all of our children have gone. Great program in our hometown. But our daughter Olivia, in Montclair Pre-K, as we do this program, Turning 5, her teacher, they would send out this email about their activities, but in the email, in the body of the email, they would send out these photos of what the kids were doing and describing what each photo was. And first I would be looking at it saying how great it was, and then I sat down with Olivia and I said, Olivia, tell me what was going on here. And the impact that those emails with those photos had on getting Olivia to talk about what was happening in those photos and what she was doing was powerful. And I thought to myself, I wouldn't have been able to, I'm not thinking of myself as a teacher there. I'm saying the teacher helped me be a better parent. Am I making too much of that?
No, absolutely. As a parent, my child's away from me for 6 hours, 8 hours a day. I want to know what's happening there. And when you have a 4 or 5-year-old come home at the end of the day, what did you do today? Nothing. So if you can point to a picture and say, tell me what happened here. I also think the teachers should personalize that.
What does that
So
mean?
this is what the class did, but here's a little note about what Olivia did. Or Olivia made this great connection between this book we read here in school and what she did at home. So really making it about the particular child.
That's
so the
hard
parent
work,
knows.
isn't it?
It absolutely is, and it doesn't need to be done daily for every parent. But the days of only contacting parents when there's an issue,
Yeah, right.
we're
There's
beyond
a problem
that.
with your child. Can you come
Yeah.
in?
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Because there's one problem, and sometimes that's the only communication teachers have with parents. What about all the positive things they did? You know, as an educator, we are limited with time, but you use it wisely. Your parent relationships are just as important as what is going on in that classroom. Because
Your parent relationships.
Yeah, because I think what they know about what's going on in that classroom, you're going to increase that chance of carrying over anything that you do into the home. And by them knowing what's going on, by sending letters or little pictures, it's going to be like, wow, this is what they did today. And maybe they'll come up, maybe they'll take the initiative to do an activity or review that with them.
It's so true, because how often when your kid comes home and you say, you know, what do you have for homework? And it's like, what? No, talk to me about your homework. We didn't really have much tonight. Well, what do you mean? And then you're opening up that book bag and trying to figure out what homework they have. And it's challenging, but if you're getting that I mean, the kid has to ultimately be responsible, but at the same time, that open communication with the teacher is huge.
2 ways. Because I think parents, when they do bring the child to school or something, at times can say to the teacher, I don't know, but this morning we had a bad start to the day. Just wanted to tell you, he seems quite upset about something. And cueing in the teacher allows
Or, excuse me for interrupting, or something has happened in our home.
Right, which they may or may not be able to, they may say what it is that's upsetting their child.
Right.
They may not know, but at least the teacher has a chance now to be particularly aware and maybe responsive to that child. So it's communication both ways between parent and the teacher for certainly all the good things that you need to hear about. But even if the child struggled with something, parent needs to know that at the end of the day.
Does it, I hate to sound so like a cliche of a minute left. Does it take a village?
It still takes a village.
It does, huh?
Yeah.
It always
does.
did.
Always did, always will, huh?
Always did and always will. It takes all of us together, even those who aren't in our agencies or in our classrooms. We need you as advocates for the programs that we put together and those things that children need. And without the advocates working to support all of us in various programs, it won't work. So it takes an entire village.
Well, all of you are working at it every day, and we appreciate, on behalf of everyone in the public television family, the village of public broadcasting, I want to thank you for joining us to help our young people grow up great and be the best they can be. Great job.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the PNC Foundation, which supports early childhood education through Grow Up Great, the New Jersey Education Association, Bloomfield College, United Water, Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and by Qualcare Inc. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com, and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine.
Each year, Americans fill 4 billion prescriptions, but as much as 1/3 of that medication will never be used. Some of this waste ends up in the rivers, lakes, and streams that make up our drinking water supply. The United Water Foundation and the National Community Pharmacists Association have partnered to bring you a simple solution. Dispose your meds responsibly. Go to disposemymeds.org to find a participating pharmacy and to learn more. A public service message from the United Water Foundation and NCPA.